Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, comrades and friends, you guys can see I threw on the little Epstein list colorway today. Just a few words in all black, right, to symbolize the actual insanity that is our government. But today we got a special story for you guys. We're gonna be looking at some federal prison documents from the Bureau of Prison Psychology Services, and these are concerning Epstein's, let's call it, attempted suicide here, which does not sound like an attempted suicide at all. And I think anybody with a brain can see that. But for some reason, when we say it, the government doesn't believe us because, everybody's apparently innocent in this case. I don't like to think so. So with that said, I want to start off here by saying, look, what you're about to see here in this document that you can see on screen, it's not speculation. This isn't some internet rumor. It's not a meme. This is not a grainy screenshot from Twitter. This is from federal prison documents written in real time by the Bureau of Prison staff in July of 2019. This is weeks before Epstein was actually found dead, right? This is written before Epstein was found dead, right? So let that sink in real quick. Now, once you actually read what these documents say, slowly, carefully, and without the spin, the official story just doesn't look weak. It looks absolutely insulting to our intelligence. Now, let's start off here. So on July 23rd, 2019, Jeffrey Epstein is found on the floor of his cell in the special housing unit at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York. He is not dead. He is not hanging. He is unconscious. He is snoring loudly, he is unresponsive, and he has visible injuries to his neck. Now, medical staff are going to document what they describe as circular lines of redness, or there's an official word for this here, just erythema. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a doctor of education, so I don't know how I'm saying that word right. But this is the base of his neck, along with marks consistent with friction and bruising on his knee. Now, these aren't, again, YouTubers saying this. These aren't activists. These aren't, these are literal medical notes entered in by prison staffs before this guy is even dead. Now, Epstein survives this ordeal, and when prison psychologists speak to him afterwards, right, something crucial is recorded. Something that most people never hear about in detail. Epstein tells him that he did not remember what happened. Right? He said he's afraid to return back to the special housing unit because it's the place where he got marks on his neck and does not know why it happened. He says, this is not a paraphrase. This is almost exactly what he says here, and we're gonna take a look at that on screen right now. So if you see this document that's been floating by me, and you look at the red here. You can see on screen, it says, when interviewed, he stated he still cannot remember what happened in SHU that caused the marks on his neck. He stated that for the 5 days before that he had only slept about 30 minutes each night because of the noise in the SHU. He stated he is anxious about going back to SHU because he stated he is going back to a place where he'd gotten marks on his neck and does not know why it happened. Oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, this is bad. This is really, really bad. Really bad. So again, he's telling staff he's barely sleeping, 30 minutes a night for 5 days straight. Now, anybody who's ever dealt with sleep deprivation or knows about it knows what that does to the brain. You're gonna have confusion, panic, memory gaps, a sense of loss of control. This is not a trivial detail, guys. This is a massive, massive red flag. And then, we got the cellmate going on about this. Let's talk about him. So Epstein's cellmate at the time was this Nicholas guy, and he's this former police officer who would later be convicted of brutally murdering multiple people. And Epstein tells prison staff directly that this Nicholas here has tried to kill me. This is basically what he's saying here. Again, this is bad. This is really, really bad. He's basically saying this guy, he doesn't know, he doesn't want to go back, right? Like, I think anybody with a brain knows that this means, like, hey, look, this is probably the guy who did it, right? Who knows? I mean, he's obviously he does not want to go back to this situation here. So the staff note is going to describe him, as aggressive. They're going to document that he'd been harassing Epstein, and in one of the more disturbing details, they note that this man here was seen mocking Epstein with a string around his neck. Right. So let me say that again here slowly. So you got a violent cellmate. Right, we have a high-value detainee. We got neck injuries. We have memory loss. We have extreme sleep deprivation. Right, we got explicit fear of returning to the same housing unit, expressed to staff members of that prison. We have an allegation documented that his cellmate is probably trying to kill him here. He doesn't really come out and say it here, but I think we kind of know it's like, well, I don't know what happened, right? Because if he says what happened, the guy's probably try to murk him right if he finds out. Obviously, snitching culture in prisons is not good. So he doesn't maybe say it outright, like, hey, look, my cellmate tried to kill me. But what he does say is like, look, dude, like, I'm unconscious. There's marks around my neck. I don't know how the hell this happened. Like, and I'm afraid to go back. Put 2 and 2 together, man. Put 2 and 2 together. That's all I'm saying here. So again, these are just allegations, right? But these are real documents by real people before Epstein died. And so how does the federal prison system categorize this incident here? Well, what do they call, after all of this? They say it's a possible suicide attempt. Possible suicide attempt, right? Not assault, not a possible assault, not a possible attempted homicide, not an emergency requiring separation or transfer. This is a possible suicide attempt. Okay, interesting. And despite all this, Epstein is eventually returned to the same facility. Now, he's not placed under constant supervision, not removed permanently from dangerous housing, not protected as someone who is clearly unstable, terrified, and at risk, as these documents would say here. And so weeks later, he's found dead. And, we're told guards fell asleep. We're told cameras are malfunctioning. We're told that it was a suicide. We're told that, these are like forged documents we find out. Case is closed, right? They sort of just try to sweep this under the rug. Now, do these documents, by themselves, are these going to prove homicide beyond a reasonable doubt in a courtroom? Absolutely not. No. But what they do point to is something far more devastating. And I think that this is that they prove that the government had written and they had these written warnings here that Epstein was in danger. And whether that's a danger to himself or to others, psychologically, physically, situationally, regardless, they ignored him. Okay? They ignored him. Whether this dude's murdered by whoever, whether he's murdered by, a cellmate, whether he's murdered by some, third-party actor, whether he kills himself, it doesn't matter. But what does matter is the fact that they should have been watching him constantly, and this surveillance here, the fact that that he was able to die in any capacity here, proves that I think that it probably proves that there's something, there's some malfeasance behind the scenes here. This is not good, and so, look, I do not believe Jeffrey Epstein, simply killed himself. I don't believe it. I believe that he was allowed to die, or I believe that he was helped along because he was a liability to some powerful people and powerful institutions and a system that had no interest in seeing what he knew dragged into open court. And now some of this stuff is coming out, and this is very, very bad. Again, this is not some Hollywood assassin plot here. Maybe not. This is something that is far worse. Far worse. And the reason it's far worse, because he had a lot of dirt on a lot of people, right? And if he exposed those people, ooh, we're going to have this country in flames, and they're not going to stand for that. You think the elite are going to have their names dragged through the mud like this? I don't think so, and neither should you. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, if you still believe the official story, I mean, that's your right. But don't tell me that the system didn't know something like this might have happened. And don't tell me that there were no warnings. And don't you tell me that this was just bad luck. I don't want to hear it. The documents say otherwise. And that's the part that nobody wants to talk about. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you guys did enjoy the video here. My name is Dr. Ian Phillips. We'll be bringing you guys some more content here, hopefully every single day. And we'll get to the bottom of these insane mysteries that we have floating around our country. Everything is an enigma these days. And unfortunately, is a great quote I heard before. All politics is yokel. It feels like everything that we do doesn't matter. But I think people are starting to wake up now. And hopefully that's the case, because this is bad. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, please subscribe. Try to get us to 400 subscribers. And we'll talk to you later. Have a great day.